In this video, I'm going to show you how I built this super clean Razor MX650 with an extended swing arm and dual motors. This bike started off as a pretty clean MX650, the only thing that was wrong was that the graphics were peeling off, so I'm just going to peel those all the way off. The battery I'm going to be using is my 72 volt 32 amp hour battery from my How to Build an E-Bike Battery Pack video. Once I cut out the stock battery tray and a little tab from the bottom, this battery fits perfect. Since the stock brush motor works fine, I decided I'm going to take a VESC and run it in brushed mode, which only uses 2 out of the 3 phases to drive a brushed motor. However, since this motor is a 36 volt motor, if I run it at 72 volts, it'll definitely burn up pretty quick, so I decided I'm going to take my other motor that I have from the first MX650 and mount it right here, then wire the motors in series so they can split the voltage. To mount this motor, I'll definitely have to modify this swing arm a lot, but I already checked and I have the perfect size steel, so this should look pretty good in the end. I also decided that I'm going to modify this swing arm into an extended swing arm that lets me move the axle back and forth, so I can get rid of the chain tensioner and enable regen. Here's the swing arm all chopped up. The motor should sit right about there. After some grinding, cutting, welding, and more grinding, it's back to looking like a swing arm again. Before I made the motor mounts, I decided to think about how I'm going to make this an extended swing arm, and after a bit of thought, I realized it's not going to be worth it. I'm going to have to move the brake caliper mount back, which is going to be annoying, and it was just going to be a ton of time that I didn't want to spend. So I decided to order an extended swing arm kit. While I'm waiting for that to arrive, I'm going to install all the new sprockets so I can line up the chain easier. While installing the rear sprocket, I remembered I need to weld the freewheel if I want to use regen. Having the larger chain and sprockets helps a lot when lining up the chain, which makes mounting the motor a lot easier. Here's the new motor mounts. This side doesn't have to be very strong because there's not a lot of torque over here, but over on the side with the sprocket there's going to be a lot of torque, so I made sure to use some real thick steel. I combined both the motor mounts into one with this piece. I think it's going to turn out pretty good. After I tack welded the motor mounts on, I removed the motors and then welded them all up. After that, I was trying to install the motors and I was beating on them with this mallet to get them to fit, and I think I separated a magnet in this motor because it just doesn't want to turn anymore. I'm not very sad that this happened. I knew I was going to switch to brushless motors anyways, because even with 2 of these brush motors, it still wouldn't be very powerful. Speaking of brushless motors, I already have one that I can use, which is my first MY1020 motor. I thought this motor was junk because it had a Hall effect error, so I replaced the Hall sensors and it still didn't work, but I learned I needed to get a specific type of Hall sensor, so once I replaced them it should work great. For the other motor, I picked up this MY1020 off of eBay. It's used, but it seems totally new, except for the fact that there's some white paint on the end of it, which I don't know what that's about. But I don't really care about that, it's scratched off pretty easily with just my fingernail. Now that I have 2 brushless motors, it's time to mount them in the swing arm without using the mallet. After that, I started on the battery mounts. They were super easy, just a little flat piece of steel here in the front and then another piece of steel here in the back. Once those were welded on, I shoved the battery in there with some foam to cushion it and it's super secure. I then added a charge port to the left plastic piece which can plug right into the battery. With the battery and motor done, it's time to work on the controllers. I took the fake gas tank out so I could fit 2 50 amp far driver controllers right here. They're bolted on super easy, just clamped around the frame there, bolted to a hole in the frame there, and bolted to the plastic battery covers there. With the controllers bolted on, it's time to start wiring. As you can see, the new motor wires barely don't reach. I had to extend the yellow phase with some nickel-plated copper. The old motor wires are way too short, so I went ahead and extended them with some copper wire. Once the phase wires were wired up, I made the weirdest battery harness ever. It's got a 180-degree QS8 and then 4 connections. Here's the left side, and here's the right side. Before screwing on the cover, I added some foam on the phase wires to help hold them in place. After that, I added a key ignition with a voltmeter, new throttle, new grips, and a 3-speed switch to the handlebars, and wired all that up. Around this area, it's always good to have some extra slack so the wires aren't pulled tight when you turn the handlebars. After that, you guessed it, more wiring. Here's how it turned out. Could definitely be better, but I think it's going to be fine. Now that I know it works, it's time to mount the plastics. The first step is to trim down this fake gas tank. I don't mind being able to see the controllers. It's kind of cool, like on a streetcar with the missing bumper showing off all the go-fast parts. Now the bike's ready to ride, besides the extended swing arm, which I have right here. This was the cheapest extended swing arm kit I could find at only $130, but it's still super high quality. Look at these CNC aluminum parts. It also comes with all the really high quality hardware. The first install step is to add a bolt and nut in the two sides. I also decided to add a lock washer. After that, you can line up this piece here with the stock dropouts and snap it on. Next, drill a hole here and bolt this on, and then put the bolt where the stock dropouts are. On the left side, you also have to bolt on the new brake caliper mount, since the stock one is way too far forward. Make sure you use Loctite on all of these fasteners. After I installed the extended swing arm, I realized there's a bit of thread showing here, so I'm just going to trim this down. I put the new chain on and it's looking good, but it's just barely not long enough. Luckily for me, I come prepared with a half link. After I installed the half link, tightened the chain, and lubed up the chain, it was time for a bunch of test rides to make sure it was working perfectly. Now that I know it's working good, it's time to strip it down and paint it. After I stripped it down, painted it, and assembled it all back together, the old motor that I replaced the Hall sensors in started to act up. It was constantly getting Hall effect error, and then going back to working for a moment, and then going back to Hall effect error. I checked the Hall sensors with a Hall sensor testing tool, and it showed that they were working fine, so next I checked the voltage being supplied to the Hall sensors. The voltage was at 5 volts, which is what it should be, but then it would randomly drop down to 2.5 volts, then back to 5 volts, which is probably what's causing the error. I don't know why it's doing this, it's not shorted anywhere, so I'm assuming the 5 volt supply in the controller is broken. So I decided I'm going to take a 12 volt converter and the circuitry out of this Bluetooth car radio transmitter thing that converts 12 volts to 5 volts, and I'm going to wire it so it provides a steady 5 volts to the Hall effect sensors. Here's what the wiring looks like. We've got the battery voltage feeding the 12 volt converter, which is then feeding this little circuit board, which is outputting 5 volts, which I'm measuring with my multimeter. Before wiring it all up, I wanted to make sure it works, so I plugged the 12 volt converter into the charging port, and then connected the 5 volt output to the Hall effect power wires. I then also mounted the multimeter to it so I can view the voltage while riding. It worked totally fine now, so I attached the 5 volt converter to the 12 volt converter and then waterproofed it. I'll have 5 volts out, 12 volts out, and then battery voltage in. Having 12 volts out here is going to be very convenient in the future if someone wants to add a headlight. They just have to extend these wires to the handlebars, then add the switch and the headlight. After reassembling the bike for a third time and peeling off all the graphics with a heat gun, the bike is finally done. I love how it turned out. I just love this blank look of having no graphics. One thing that could make this bike look better would be to paint the front forks black, but whoever buys this bike from me may end up just putting new forks on, so I'm not going to do that. While I have a full battery, it's time to do the top speed run. It isn't that hard to wheelie in Mode 2, but Mode 3 is just too much power. It's probably just because I'm way too big on a too small bike, but I don't know, that's my excuse. deal, this extended swing arm trying to keep the front down. So if I didn't have it and I was just doing that, I'd probably flip, because it's already trying to wheelie a lot right now. Just like that. Now for some trail riding. But first, you know, we gotta rip a burnout. Let me put that in 2. There's no reason to be in mode 3 on trails like this. Mode 3 for the hill climb. Oh! The extended swing arm makes this bike a great little hill climber. I think this bike turned out great. It's definitely an upgrade compared to the first MX650 that I built, especially when it comes to the battery, which is 2.5 times higher capacity than the old one. That's it for this video. Thanks for watching, and join my Discord if you want to discuss interesting builds like this bike.